when you go through the questions, like, so say when we were going through business, we were looking at certain points, wasn't it? That was it. In Irish, we were looking at other things. In economics, is it a case of when we're answering questions, are they paragraph long answers, bullet points?
No, it's very similar to that business, and that it's a business in that way. Like, you get a question with 20 marks, you're saying to yourself, right, 20 marks divided by 5, and then you'll get your 4 points, and that's it is very similar in that way. The structure, luckily as well, the time management is the same. Like, so I was saying in business, now this only applies to the long questions in business, but if you get a question with 20 marks divided by 2.5, you have 8 minutes. Exact same thing in economics. So like economics, the long question, 75 marks divided by 2.5, that gives you 30 minutes. So you have 30 minutes for each long question. Typically, I wouldn't want to be lull students into a false sense of security with this, but like usually the time management isn't as bad in economics as it is in business. Business, for a lot of students, tend to over rely on giving examples, and they try and give examples at each point. That problem doesn't happen as much in economics. The only thing I would stress to students is to practice your graphs and stuff like that, because the more you practice on them, the quicker you get at them, and that can save you time. But yeah, that's what I'd see there.
This is maybe an ignorant question, because I obviously don't know anything about it. So some students are like, what a dope this boy is asking this question. But in terms of graphs, is there like do you construct the graphs to do with numbers on the day, or is there set types of graphs, or what is it like?
No, they'll just they'll give you a graph, and they'll give you figures for cost of production, or it could be something on supply and demand, and you have to draw a graph around that and the figures you're given. So like they might say, like they'll give you the figures for demand curve and supply curve. You just have to draw. But look out for the simple things. Like, don't make sure you label the axis, the y-axis, x-axis. You give it a heading and stuff like that. Sometimes students can lose marks on a very easy point. So you'll pick it up very, very quickly if you dig up the marking schemes and like look out for costs, the graphs on 17, 18, 16, 15. If you sit down, dig up the marking schemes there, you'll see exactly what they're looking for on drawing those sort of those graphs, and make sure to really practice them, and just there will be some sort of question always on like those types of figures. They like to ask that a lot in the exams.
So, sounds like to me that you're saying that whereas business is more rote, economics is more actually performing a skill at the time, and the best way of getting good at it is practicing performing the skill. Is that correct? Yeah,
like I find with economics, I lean into what you do get. They mix it up so much, and so what you do really know is the short questions is your edge. You sit down, you be organized too. Like I'd be doing it. I've even said to my 6 years now that like they've a test in 2 weeks' time, but it's on nothing but the short questions. And I just want them just working off the short questions over like the I'll share the screen here, but like there's nothing can you see the short questions there?
Yep.
And that's sort of a little thing on the time management, whatever. Maybe ignore that because they've changed that now, obviously. So the dates, but that was like, and there's nothing really there. That's just a general advice for the exam. But like I've been stressing students, like I gave this out to my students before the school's closed or whatever, and they have that. But what I'd be stressing them is just they want to be really working through all of these short questions, like sitting down. Like I've basically given them that, and then at the bottom, then they've like the marking schemes. Now there's nothing special here. This isn't anything different that students wouldn't. They can just get all this online, or they'll have all their past papers. But you really want to be sitting down and doing all of these. And if there's questions you don't know, you're not too sure of, well, that's not a bad thing, because then you sit down, mark them, and practice them. But like what we've seen there is like, that's what I mean about the market structures question. They've asked that perfect competition. And then you see, like they will give you some questions that will recycle themselves a bit, and same types of questions like the retirement age comes up a lot as well as a short question. Price discrimination come up a good bit in market structure in general. So the more and more you practice over this, the better you're going to get at tackling these types of questions. But that's what I mean there, right? The indirect and direct tax, when it came up 2017, I'm saying to students, make sure they look out for that question there. Same question.
Can I jump in with something there?
Of course, yeah.
If you just go back up just a tiny bit, you see the true or false question.
Yeah.
This is just a funny thing, but it's actually fully serious, and I can't believe they're saying this. We have them in biology.
I know what you're going to say, but go on, yeah.
We have these in biology as well, and it literally says indicate by means of a tick, which is false. And people, well, first of all, like, if they tell you to write a tick, if they tell you to write your date of birth, you write your date of birth. But you know, do you get this as well in the true or false? People writing X's. So you write an X, and then as an examiner, you're not sure if they're saying that's the right one or that's the wrong one in that. like, or like, so that's what I've seen. Or
Yeah,
about people shading it in and stuff like that. It's like, what?
yeah,
Um,
yeah. And it can be confusing though sometimes for students as well, because in the business exam they'll ask you to write in true or false, and that all those, and then another thing students will do, sometimes they'll literally just leave it blank, and that, you know, there's just make sure you know, just guess all true or guess all false or something on it. But
yeah,
that happens a lot. Students are like, God, I'm not too sure about that, and they leave it blank. But they're the ones that, like, and that's what I will be stressing, Dave. Like, you see something like that there, like take a few minutes. Don't rush it, and because you know that's where students can drop marks so easy on it. One other little quick thing there. So there, see the currencies question. I'd be stressing students really look out for that. They asked you a currencies question on the paper as a short question in 2017, 15, and 14, and it's come up as well in other years, a long question. Nothing came up on currencies last year, and there's a lot of fluctuation around the euro and the dollar and sterling around their writing papers. I think they're going to see something on that again this year. But just, if people can put an NB beside that, the currencies question as a short question, look over and practice 2017, 15, and 14. Those years they asked them as a short question. And even in other years then they've asked us a long question as well in 2016, a couple other years, but nothing came up on currencies last year. It's something like, I think 5 out of the last 7 years they asked something on currencies, the fluctuation in the value of the euro. And it's always going back to how this affect Ireland's economy. And we didn't see that. We didn't see anything on that last year.
When I was in New York a couple of months ago, and New York used to be actually quite decent in terms of how much it costs to buy things, and I was absolutely blown away. It was costing me €18 for a bagel and stuff, simply because of that fluctuation. So but I've noticed it being so big that obviously then an economics examiner would notice that, wait a sec, there's a potential modern question in it.
Yeah, and like with that as well, it's a good one if students can. They've always, if you look at the past questions on the currencies question there for students, dig up one marking scheme. One big thing as well, they can rephrase how they can phrase it a lot of different ways. They may say the value of the euro has depreciated against the dollar, or the dollar has appreciated against the euro. Now that means the same thing. If the euro gets weaker against the dollar gets stronger against the euro. Do you get me? It's the same thing.
Yeah.
I'm stressing students, watch how they phrase that. And in a strange way as well, if the euro gets weaker relative to other currencies, it's going to make our exports stronger, and that's going to boost our exports, and it's going to be good for our economy in the short run. So you want to be looking out for that in the marketing scheme. The marketing scheme on that always boils down to 5 things: exports, imports, employment, economic growth, and investment. So just like if you're sitting here and you look over any of those past questions, you see it'll always refer back to exports, or level of exports, level of imports, and then from that can create employment, and then from that can create economic growth, and that can lead to more investment. But if you think of the letters E and I on that question, exports and imports, and then like E, employment, economic growth, and the I then is also going to be investment. Sit away, what you need to spot, think about this. They've been able to ask this question 5 times in the last 7 years. It means students are doing badly on it. So you want to be able to sit down and constantly work off those types of questions, because it's 4%. It's a very easy 4% to pick up if you sit down and play by their rules and how they're going to be marking it. So look out for it as well. If they make the reference there to the UK, lean in on that, especially if it's the US. That's when the investment point is very important for foreign direct investment from the US. But just sit away and practice on those types of questions.
What are the biggest mistakes you see in students that come into you in the academy that from other schools, or in general, even students?
I think one mistake is that, like, a lot of time because there's no, see the way even there when you're asking me, like, are there any loopholes around it, like because the paper so can be quite scattered. It's not like business where I can be like, right, you're guaranteed X amount of questions in these units. Sometimes that lack of the way the questions, the paper can be mixed up a lot, that catches out students. And I see sometimes they nearly try and cover every single thing in the whole course. Like, you know what I was saying about the essays? Students try and cover all of it, but they don't nail anything. Yeah. So I'd always be trying to, if you're finding it hard to study right now, because if you can't get yourself motivated, I'd be saying to students, sit back and just cover what you do know. Sit down and focus well on the topics you like, and then say to yourself, right, when it comes around to June, then I'll start to work on the topics that I'm not so sure of. But the big mistake I think students are making is they're not specializing. They're half knowing stuff. And then when they know stuff, they don't do the boring stuff like sit down and learn off the definitions off by heart. Like, if you know those things, that's what I'd be saying if you're going to know something, really covered inside out. And labeling, they lose easy marks as well in the exam by not they're drawing a graph, not labeling the graph properly, or the graph not being neat enough. Just a lot of it will boil down to practicing it, see where you went wrong, and then go back on it and keep working through it. They're sort of main points really that I think students would make mistakes on. Structuring and stuff like that with the questions, they seem to be okay on. I don't really see students writing too much or too little. They seem to get all that okay. But I'd be just encouraging students to start to really try and specialize a bit. And if you're going to cover something, try and cover it inside out. That's one thing I see students not doing enough of.
Sorry, this is probably very, very late in the podcast to be asking this. It's 100% exam, yeah?
Yeah, sorry, 100%. Yeah, all the projects.
Yeah.
No project.
Hopefully, anyone listening to this already knew that, but just.
And then the only other thing is this only applies to 2020. The course is going to change next year as well. But yeah, that's the idea with that.
Course changes, so people in fifth year be doing.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So and I just on that there with the short questions. Well, one little thing just to stress students to look out for. They've asked you guys this question about, see that there in 2015, question 1. I'd be stressing students to look out for choice, scarcity, and opportunity cost. See that there's 2015 was choice, 2014 it was opportunity cost, and students see then as well. They asked this in 2013 it was scarcity, but they've looked for that and they did it as well in 2017. Question 1 was again on opportunity cost. Just a side little thing to stress students. Another random thing just came to my head there. I'd encourage students to look out for that as well this year.
Is opportunity cost the thing you miss out on by doing something else?
Exactly, cost of foregone alternatives. So so if you make a decision
by you making this podcast and providing value to the students of Ireland, you miss out on maybe an hour of sleep, or you miss out on an hour of books or whatever it is.
Exactly, and they like asking that sort of stuff in economics, like the reason I've merged the three of them together is that like and you'll see all this in the marketing schemes with it, but like in economics we've got a thing of like limited resources and unlimited wants. Okay, so that's a scarcity problem. Then we need to make a choice, and these choices are going to involve an opportunity cost, and that's how they all link in together. So they just stress the students to make sure to work on that type of question, because it's 4% and students can lose an easy 4% on that. You're not going to be able to waffle that. You're not going to be able to wing that if you see that in the exam.
So kind of to summarize this idea here, first of all, obviously we got to know, and feel free to cut in if I'm wrong in any of this. First of all, we got to know the layout of the paper. It's 100% exam, and because there's the choice that we spoke about, you just have to know. There's no point in going ahead and doing an exam and not knowing what's on it. And we stress this all the time. But like, for example, in biology, if you don't know what's coming up and how you're going to go in and have an exam plan, well, then you're simply wasting your time. You're just not focused and not specialized, as you said. So in section A, there's nine questions. You're going to do all 9, but you're going to do your best 6 first. They're going to pick your best 6, and you that's 100 marks. That's 25% of your paper. And we have a time on that we're going to be finished that by 10:30 if the exam starts at 9. Is that correct?
Well, yeah, no, the exam starts at 9:30. We're going to be finished short practice by 10 o'clock.
Sorry.
Yeah, and then half an hour for each one after that. The 4 long questions, half an hour each one.
Yeah, perfect. So and then for the long questions, then there's 8. You got to pick 4. They can really mix stuff in between, but these questions are a case of having to perform a skill. So you said there's extreme value in sectioning them off in the topics, like we mentioned before. I can't remember the names, but in those, people would know the names better than me. In those sections, what you're going to do as a student is you're going to say, right, I'm going to get extreme value in the past papers questions by doing them. Great, I got something wrong. Let's figure out where I got it wrong. Then you know it. But also, you said another really, really good hack is actually focusing a lot of your study on short questions, because I think it was because that it encompasses more parts of the course in a quicker amount of time. and they
it's a great way of revision. You're going to revise over they recycle a lot of them, a lot of the same years. They keep recycling over it. So, that's what I'd be encourage students to do. They'll be every year you see some of the same ones pop up again, and you keep working away in them, you get rewards. Or they might come up as a short question. You might see the long questions that can help you out there as well.
Yeah, the reason I have to do that I do that stuff, Ro, is because people will be listening to this, and then they might not take down, they might not get the exact action point from it. And I found, say, with maths, like I always say to a student, focus on this topic first. This is where are you at? Figure out there. Focus on this topic first, and then they still will come back and ask. They say, "Yeah, but what sum? What are you talking about?"
I get that, because even there randomly, like, because I was just kind of firing at things off. So if I was even summarising there for students, I'd say, right, if you're looking at short questions, market structures as a short question, make sure you know that. Then you've got elasticity as a short question, make sure you cover that as well. This choice, scarcity, opportunity cost, very important. Direct and indirect taxes, very important, because the carbon tax increased this year. The value of the euro as well, very, very important question. Make sure you kind of look over them, practice them, and hopefully you see a couple of them pop up as in your short questions this year. If not, you might see them come to the long questions anyway. Also look out for the NTMA, National Treasury Management Agency. Check out the question 2015 and 2011 there in the short questions, and make sure you guys have that. And also have a look at the question, the minimum wage being increased. In 2016, you can see that as a short question as well. You sit away, you kind of work on them. They'd be questions I'd be marking, be very, very important, that they could see again pop up this year.
Okay, no, that's brilliant. So that's, unless there's, do you have any, before we get in, we'll get into the questions for the third part. If you've any anything else?
No, just to really stress, because I'm trying to give something for, it depends, if you're watching this anywhere in Ireland, if you're doing it, and just, I can't stress enough the benefits you get from working over the past papers, drawing out the graphs, correcting yourself, looking at the marketing schemes, massive amount of resources that way that you can use to your advantage. But I would, if you're serious about getting good grade economics, even the cost graphs, do the ones in 2011, 15, 16, 17, and 18. Do all 5 of those ones. Again, great chance they'll ask you guys something on that again this year.
Perfect. And I would suggest to anyone that's listening as well that we do have for every subject lots of videos on our YouTube channel, which could potentially help you out with that. With some stuff. But Rose, thanks very much. So we'll stop this one here, and we'll get into some of the student questions, if that's okay.
Sure, yeah. Sounds good. Great. Yeah.
My favorite part. And sorry, just before we go, the reason I said that thing at the start, I took something from your last podcast, something that I thought was absolutely so subtle and fantastic that I can't get over it. It's actually blown my mind for me using it, and I know it's so simple. But you were saying, I can't remember at the time, we were doing Irish, and you said, right, if I'm going to put, I think it was like 15 weeks, I think we said, or 13 weeks into Irish, and I said to myself, right, I'm going to put in this amount of time for this amount of weeks, and then it multiplied into, because when you said at the start, let's just say it was 60 hours for Irish, and we had 15 weeks, you were saying, okay, so we're going to put 4 hours a week, and one of those 4 hours is going to do listening comprehension. I was like, oh my God, that is so simple, but now suddenly something that seems so daunting and so unorganized, unstructured, it seems so easy. So I'm training for something at the moment, which I'll tell you about at a different time. But I was thinking of you this morning, and I was listening to Michael Jackson, and I actually structured my training your way. I had to do 390 reps of something, and I broke it down. I was like, right, what would Ro doing this? And I'm not even messing. I broke it down into on the minute and in these reps and into different pieces like that. And I was thinking, and then I mentally, from me this morning, not wanting to do it mentally, when I broke it down and wrote it down like that, I felt so much better in myself. And when I was finished the thing, that song was on, Michael Jackson. I felt so good. I was so happy, and I was thinking of you and the fact that I get to come chat to you as well a little bit. So that's why I was thinking of that earlier. So thank you very much for helping me. And I'm sure that organization that you're famous for in studying has helped probably hundreds, thousands of people as well. So thank you so much.
And if they were doing it, I'd stress to a great thing you could do if they're looking at for economics is that like they could split that out. So they're doing the short questions. I'd be trying to stress to get 2 done a week from the last, let's say, 12 years. They managed to do that. They're in an incredibly strong position. 2 a week spread that over 6 weeks. They could be looking around. Imagine you're 12 weeks from leaving cert today. They could be sitting back then, like, imagine yourself, try and set yourself up well for, like, I'd be aiming to try and have all your content done by the end of June. Imagine you're to take advantage of the leaving cert being pushed back and stuff. Say, right, I'm going to have all my stuff covered by June. Then you just use the last couple of weeks in July then to really practice on everything. You can set yourself up very well. Whatever plan you want to make out, you can break that down your own way and study, and that way you won't get knocked as well. You won't be, if you're being realistic about your studying and what you're going to cover each week, you won't get as stressed as well when you're trying, because there's so many things we're unsure of at the moment. I think that'll give students a lot of set structure. One other last thing I want to say as well that I forgot to mention earlier is factor in that economics is usually at the end, and that sometimes students might think that's a good thing. They've loads of time to study, but at this stage, like, students as well get very, very tired and worn out. So I've seen that before with students in economics, that, like, they might have a window of 4 days to study, and whenever I meet those students after the exam, they say they never got to study in those 4 days because they were just so tired from the whole exam and the whole process in general. So I just want to stress what I've seen over experience. If you're doing it now, don't try and leave any new topics. Don't rely on that window to try and get new topics done. You know, during the exams, it can be very, very tiring, and make sure you use your energy right this way. But exactly that, what you said earlier, like, when you break it down in a structure and thing, you set it out well, you can really set yourself up very well for the exam that way.
Yeah, like, even for example, anyone can do like the way it was in my head. It's no problem. I can do 7 reps. That's not an issue, and I can just do that again and again. Versus 390 felt very daunting. So 60 hours versus actually, wait, I'm just going to do this one listening comprehension. It was I thought it was brilliant. Anyway,
yeah, no, you're right. It's exactly that. It's really, I think it's really important in general. I couldn't agree more with that. When you break it down, it's not as daunting at all.
Perfect. Ro, thank you very much. I'm going to stop this here. So thanks so much, Ro.
Thanks.